Welcome to what episode are we on, Ikey? It's number two with Lindsey. I believe this is number seven of the year, number two of the semester, of course. We have a new thumbnail. I hope you enjoyed it. And welcome to our women's basketball podcast, The Road to Tampa. Zach Davis alongside Lindsey Plotkin and Ikey Kohler. Lindsey, Ikey, how are the weeks?
Pretty good. Just school's picking up, but other than that, pretty good.
Yeah, it's going. Just staying busy. Been watching, basketball. So
Mhm.
no
Yeah, and
complaints from my end. Zach, how about you, man? How about you?
it was a good week. I mean, we'll start with the epitome of the week, I should say, was Matthew McConaughey. I mean, I was trying to communicate with Mr. McConaughey during the game. He went to the women's game with his daughter, which I thought was super cool. I talked to Danny Davis about it at the Austin American Statesman. He said that, you never really see him at a women's event. So for him to be there was cool. So what do? I go down and I try talking to him, and the video will be right above me right now. I tried talking to him, and I'm like, Mr. McConaughey, Mr. McConaughey, I'm with the Daily Texan. Did not turn around. So I was walked away defeated. And as I'm walking away, I look back just to see see him again, and he's like darting me in the eyes, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So, but besides that, great game for Tennessee. I mean, the whole crowd was there. I mean, it was really bumping. I kind of wrote about it in the text, and like it was loud. Really good to see.
Yeah, it was a big crowd. And I feel like when you go for men's games, the men's crowd will be good, but it's quiet. Like that women's crowd gets loud, even if it is smaller, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, I wasn't in the stadium watch it. I was out. My grandpa turned 78 that day, so I was watching it
Happy
with him at
birthday.
El Arroyo. So happy birthday to my grandpa.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was a fun game to watch. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Enjoyed watching it. So
I
what you
mean, yeah,
real
it was
highly contested game.
yeah, Yankee, you're spot on. What a contested game. I honestly didn't expect it. Lindsay predicted 75-71, if I'm not mistaken.
That.
Something like that. Texas ended up winning 80-76. So all-time prediction by Lindsay last week. I really did think they were going to be blown out. And part of it was because the coach just gave birth. Congrats to her and her
Just
baby.
one game, which is incredible. Like she's already back, which is
What a warrior.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
pretty
it's
crazy.
incredible.
But they went back and forth, and Tennessee, like I should have thought that they were gonna not miss their shot, or that they were gonna make their shots, but I didn't, and I thought it was gonna be rattling. I did think it was gonna be kind of a big crowd, but not to that extreme. And I mean, what a performance by Taylor Jones! The fact that she hurts her right shoulder, goes back in, gets a bucket to pull him ahead off a Madison Booker miss, and then on the last possession grabs the game sealing rebound. I mean, nobody would have loved that more than Pat Summitt. So Lindsay, Ike, just wondering your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, it was. I think I said this to somebody. I don't know if it was to you or Anna, Zach, but I was like, I think this is the best basketball game I've ever covered. I just got so wrapped up in how good the game was that I forgot I was even there, working. Like, it was that good of a game. It was everything everybody said it was going to be. Tennessee shot threes really well. Texas dominated the paint. And it was just such a good back and forth game. And the end was so intense. And I just remember there was one call where Vic Schaefer really wanted him to review it because he thought the ball went out on Tennessee. And then when Tennessee inbounded the ball, Madison Booker stole it and went coast to coast to put Texas to either tie it up or put Texas ahead. I don't even remember, but it was just such a good game, so intense, until the final whistle. And it was just a great game all around.
Yeah, I mean it definitely lived up to the billing, and with like 2 or 3 minutes left, both coaches had 2 or 3 timeout. I mean, it made for great television. I mean, it was drawn out, like it was real close. Booker and Taylor Jones had both had over 20 points, and Booker was on, and really just a great win over another top 25 team in the SEC. I mean, the train kept rolling.
I mean, the resume. I know bracketology doesn't really matter for this team because at this point they're pretty much a lock, but I mean, you look at that resume. I mean, the amount of quad one wins they have, 38-point win over Maryland. They killed Oklahoma, killed Alabama. I shouldn't say killed Oklahoma, 7 point win, but killed Alabama. And what stands out to me when you look at their schedule as a whole at this point is yes, they have two losses. Both of those losses, Texas won 9 straight games, and then now they're on a 5 game win streak in South Carolina. That just shows to me that how strong in this locker room the chemistry is because these girls really believe that they're top notch and they can just fight right back. And that's the Schaefer effect. You know, it goes from the crowds and all the noise that Schaefer brought in, how it started in the Cooley Center to what it became against Tennessee and then just the atmosphere. I saw Jeremy Rosenthal, the SID for women's basketball, tweeted out today that I think Texas is 20-2 for the first time since like the mid 80s, something like that. I mean, it's sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty special. I mean, the culture in the locker room, but also the Schaefer effect. Their win against Ole Miss. I think German may have posted this too, but it was his 12th straight 21 season as a head coach, which I mean the dude is a legend in the game and he's got this team going in the right direction.
yeah, like the Vic Schaefer effect is incredible, and this team is incredibly tough. Like going back to that Ole Miss win, like they had to really gut out that win, and that was a game where it's like you could tell they were tired. They had played 3 games in 6 days, 2 games against ranked opponents. Ole Miss is a team that's been in and out of the top 25, and that just really showed like their toughness and their grit, and just I think that's the true definition of the Vic Schaefer effect. And just it got him to 20 wins, but he didn't really care about that. He just wanted to see his team play hard. And I was watching the press conference and he was like, they know I don't like it when they get out toughed, and they weren't going to get out tough today, and they didn't. And they beat Ole Miss. It took the entire game, but they
Yeah.
still came back to win. And it was an incredible game again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm,
not
go
only
ahead, Ikey.
3 games in 6 days, but I mean, two of them were away from the Moody Center. So factor in all the travel time and all that stuff going on. And I mean, they've just handled all that very well, very well.
Mhm.
I just, it's interesting you point that out, Lindsay. I think this is the first time all season that Texas played 3 games in one week, and that's because they usually play Sunday, Thursday, but because of the is it the Kinetic Classic, something like that? They played
The
Maryland
Coretta
on,
Scott
yeah,
King.
the Credit Scott King Classic. They played Maryland on Monday. So they go from playing the number 8 team in the country on Monday to playing the number 17 team in the country on Thursday. And then on Sunday, they play a team that's been going in and out of the top 25 all season. So, I mean, that's a very hard stretch. And it's good that they won out and it's good they found a way. I know Vic is a man of perfection and no game will ever be perfect, but I can't speak for him. But knowing the guy, he has to be proud of his girls.
Yeah, he said that today during his press conference. He was like, I'm just so proud of them and how they toughed it out. Like he said there was a lot of late nights and it was a lot of, especially like, because the games weren't close. Like they played Maryland up in New Jersey. And so they got back late from that one, had basically 2 days to turn around and prep for Tennessee. After Tennessee, they had basically 2 days to turn around and prep for Ole Miss. And then they got to Ole Miss and Aaliyah Moore couldn't go. And so they just had to immediately bounce back. And Jockelenga and one and Tonda, she got the start over instead of Aaliyah Moore because Aaliyah couldn't go. But like that just shows like this team's ability to adapt and like overcome adversity.
Yeah, eight girls played in that game. And we talk about this team and how much depth they have. I guess we're finally starting to feel like it's kind of hitting them but that's why depth is great because he still has 8 guys that can play. I mean, no Amo, now Layla's out. Um, and I mean, I'm looking at the box score. I'm not like Jack Lang and Winantana is a girl that just to me does not get enough credit. She goes into the game and she does nothing but good things for this team. She's not great offensively, but you don't need offense from her when you have girls like Madison Booker and Shea Holly who can shoot the ball, and Taylor Jones who's going to get you a double double, and Rory Harmon who can hit anything inside 8 feet. You don't really need offense from her, and she does her job and she does it tremendously. I mean, we talk about Shea being the glue, and to an extent, and Shea is a glue girl, but Jack Alanga, I mean, really stepped up.
Mhm. Yeah, she did. I think she had like 6 points, but the one thing Coach Schaefer pointed out in the post-game press conference is she didn't turn the ball over. And that's huge against a team that plays such hard defense like Ole Miss. And even on the defensive side, like Texas played a lot of zone, which they'd only played for 2 possessions going into that game, and they switched to zone to throw him off. And Jack was right there in the middle of it, disrupting stuff, like breaking up passes and just putting pressure on people and forcing bad shots. And just shows like the type of team player she is. And she knows she's not going to have the biggest offensive impact, but that doesn't matter. She just wants to help her team. And I think that's what makes this team so special because that's how everyone is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And if I'm not mistaken, too, Ole Miss coming into that game, they had some time off,
Hmm.
whereas Texas was, kind of hitting basically a road trip. I mean, the Tennessee game was in between in the Moody Center, but Taylor Jones completely dominated the end of this game, and I mean, it felt like they went in there and snatched it, and that's a sign of a good team to go into a road environment and play a real competitive game. But it never really felt like Texas was dominating the game. They just hung in there and hung in there, and then snatched it away at the end, which was I mean, that's what good teams do. Good teams know how to win, and they got the job done out there in Oxford. So.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I never really thought Texas was going to lose. I like that's just me personally. I would have been really shocked if they lost. And it's kind of the same feeling I get when Trey Johnson gets an open three and he misses. It's just like you don't expect it. And when you don't expect a team to lose, that's when you know you're in a good situation. And I never really factored in my head that this was the third game of the week. They've been in Austin for 3 days. But again, this is really good prep for the 3 games they have in 2 weeks when they play home against South Carolina at Kentucky and then home against LSU. You get a pretty relatively home week, those 8 days. Um, and then I mean, so it's a little balanced, but I mean, this is great prep for that stretch of games because Texas, they haven't, I mean, as much as you think this team's gonna make Tampa and is top level. They have 2 bad losses. They lost to South Carolina, and then they lost to Notre Dame. So I'm waiting to see for those games because especially South Carolina again, and then LSU both at home. That game is going to tell us if we're going to Tampa.
Hmm. Yeah, I think seeing like how Texas adjusts from losing to South Carolina the first time to coming back and like going back to like the schedule part, like there's no easy part of this SEC schedule. Like Texas is playing Mizzou tomorrow, which is like they're not one of the best teams in the SEC, but they just came off a buzzer beater win. So they're red hot. Anybody in this league can get red hot. Like we're seeing the same thing with the men's side right now, with Texas getting red hot. Like they're up pretty big on Ole Miss, like right now as we speak. But like even though like it's just such a deep league, and even though like Texas and South Carolina and all the top teams have kind of started to pull away, it's still a league where anybody could beat anybody.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the depth of this league, the Vanderbilt Commodores have snuck into the top 25. So that's going to be 4 straight ranked opponents in a row after Missouri and Texas A&M. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a haul, but I think they're up for the challenge. I mean, they've been playing great competition all year. So yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's the beauty of the conference. It's great, but they gotta win. They gotta win. It's you don't really see upsets that much in women's basketball. It's definitely not as common as the men. So it's just about we're trying to get to Tampa. Like they got to beat. I mean, I think Kentucky's ranked 12th right now. South Carolina's 2. LSU might be 7. Like that's real basketball. And South Carolina's got 10 all McDonald's All-Americans on their team. Like their leading scorer is their sixth man. I mean, that's insanity. Right now, ESPN's bracketology has Texas as a 2 seed playing UCLA as a 1 seed. So different conference. But Lindsey, Ikey, how like the past games, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Maryland, that stretch, and then the stretch coming up, South Carolina, Kentucky, LSU. How important is that for March?
I think it's huge. I think like Texas is playing, like everybody said that the Tennessee game looked like a Sweet 16 game, and I completely agree. Just the way it was so fast paced and like so evenly matched. I think that's going to be what Texas is looking at for the rest of the its SEC schedule. And I think to get to March and to prepare for March, it's got to win those games and it's got to be able to hang around in those close games and come out on top, which we've seen twice now. like 2 games in a row, but it needs to keep happening. And Texas is going to get into those tough situations, and they need to find a way to fight out of it and get those tough wins when it matters.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like NCAA tournament seeding goes, if they want to keep the two or move up to a one, obviously, they're gonna have to keep winning. But as you know, I think this team is like at a point right now where kind of like they're only gonna get to play. Like sort of feels like the stars are aligning. Like everything's kind of clicking right now. They're finding ways to win games, and it feels like this is a time. Like the opportunity is this year, maybe a better shot than ever to go to Tampa. But yeah, and also with the injuries that they've had, Philia, we found out that she's going to be redshirting this year. And then Leah Moore has been dealing with some knee injuries apparently, so she's not 100%. And so I think it's a big thing for this team to stay healthy too through this stretch.
Yeah, no, 1000%. But one thing we do know from the past experiences with this coach and this culture is that injuries do not affect Vic Schaefer teams like you think they would. Texas lost their best player last year, Rory Harmon, to a torn ACL. I mean, they were all built around Rory, and
Right.
they turned it around. They won the Big 12 championship. They got a one seed and they went to the Elite Eight. So yeah, Layla Feely was one of the most sought out transfers in the portal, and it's so unfortunate that she can't play. She's a really good basketball player, but then again, this is the right spot for a team that's playing at this level to have an injury like this. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be stressed because Vic Schaefer teams like we've seen this last year. Like it sucks, but 11 girls can play Ikey. When it was just us two, we always hammered this. There's 11 girls on this team that can win a basketball game any night, and night in and night out, and that's what
Right.
this team has. So going over to Missouri and maybe A&M, also Aaliyah Moore dealing with a flu. It's been going around the locker room. I don't think it's really going to affect. It's a good time there's never a good time to be sick, but if I were to pick any time in this SEC schedule for this to happen to Aaliyah Moore, I would have picked the Missouri game just because Missouri's 20 and 12. It's a home game. There's a little more leeway with that.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think it being at home definitely helps because Texas does have the true home court advantage. But I think like even with Aaliyah Moore being injured, like this team has played without her before. Like 2 years ago, she was the big injury. She tore her ACL early, and the team had to rebound and bounce back without her, and they were very capable of doing that. And I think a lot of the freshmen have started to step up. Like we've seen the three of them, Justice Carlton, Breonna Preston, and Jordan Lee, and even Jakalenga. I think those are four players that could all go in and mesh really well with this lineup. And I think even if Aaliyah Moore can't go against A&M, like we know she's not going to be able to go against Missouri, but even if she can't go against A&M, I think this team will be just fine and should wait for her to get back to or as close to 100% as she can before finishing out with another rough stretch of the season.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of depth on this team. I mean, y'all said it perfectly. I completely agree. So, we're kind
Nope.
of getting getting in the home stretch of SEC play, but it's a lot of basketball left to be played. It's gonna be exciting to watch.
Justice Carlton didn't play against Ole Miss. You notice that? She didn't.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
didn't get in.
she didn't get in. But Jordan Lee got in a lot. Breonna Preston only got in for a couple minutes at the end. But Vic did say that Brianna had been sick, and so she missed practice yesterday, but was back today. So I don't know if that illness goes back to when they're playing at Ole Miss or what. But yeah, I noticed that she didn't get in.
Brianna's a special story because when she committed here, she knew what she was getting herself into. She knew who she was backing up, and I mean, it's great. It makes me feel warm because the future of Texas women's basketball is in good hands after Rory graduates, if she graduates. Not talked about enough. Rory Harmon has another year of eligibility. She was asked that at the presser last week, I think, and she was like very, very like media trained answer. Oh, well, working on the year. We'll see how it goes, you know.
Mhm.
It would be very interesting if she came back.
Yeah, it would. I think it would be to get another year of her and Madison playing together, I think would be super cool and super special. I think it's really gonna, she said that she's gonna wait and see how the season plays out. And I think that is really how it's gonna go. I don't think she's made up her mind yet, but I think that this Texas team could be really special next year if Rory Harmon comes back and then Layla Felia's at full strength and the rest of the recruits coming in. Like Aaliyah Chavez was just named a McDonald's All-American. And so I think that they could have a really special lineup and a really special team next year if Rory comes back, and even without her. But I think she could add so much to that team and just so much experience that like Madison Booker brings a little bit of, but just doesn't have nearly as much. Like it would be Rory's fifth year of college basketball, and I think that it would be really cool if she came back.
Yeah, I mean it'd be an absolute treat for for the UT fans too to see that go. But I think it speaks to the like strength of the program right now with them being so talented, and it feels like even if Rory doesn't come back, there's still going to be a sense of continuity with next year's bunch. And then, I mean, we're already seeing it right now, like with the way this season's playing out and different players stepping up each game under different circumstances. So yeah, they're in a program's in a great spot right now.
You know, interesting to me. Did you guys see that Taylor Jones was named the SEC Player of the Week, but Madison Booker was the Naismith Player of the Week?
Yeah, I did see that.
How does someone explain that to me?
I think I don't know who votes on the Naismith, but I'm pretty sure that the SEC Player of the Week is voted on by the coaches.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure because but I don't know how but it's great for the program that they had both of those awards covered. It's just a little interesting that it was the different players within the same program, but both of them are playing really well, and I think that the SEC Player of the Week award could have gone to either of them. Like Madison Booker hit two clutch shots late to put Texas back ahead, and has been stellar when Texas has needed her to. But Taylor Jones has just been incredible all around. Like she's unstoppable around the basket, and she's extending her game out towards the foul line now too. Vic Shaver has given her the go ahead for the foul line jumper, and she's made a bunch of them over the past two games. And so I don't know that it was necessarily one of them was more deserving than the other, but I think it's just a difference in who votes on the awards, honestly.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about, I guess, the differences in awards and whatnot, but I guarantee you, I mean, they don't care about any of that, like in-season awards. They're just wanting to win basketball games and go win a championship. So it
Mhm.
is pretty funny, though. Yeah, it's kind of a abnormality, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
It's a good element to the team. I mean,
Uh,
if I was a voter, I'd vote for a new one on that team every week. I mean, just talking about like the future of this program, like Jordan Lee's had a 30-point night, Justice Carlton's had a 30-point night. It's just, and you mentioned Taylor Jones extending her game. I mean, she hit a big shot in the Ole Miss game. It was like the second to last basket. It was just in front of the free throw line. It was like a high floater. I'm like, that's good basketball.
Mhm.
You got so many people that can hit high quality shots. We got 10 minutes left in this Zoom meeting. Anything else we still need to cover? I feel like we've done a pretty good job so far.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know.
Um, yeah, I mean, we covered everything. I guess that'll wrap us up. This is Zach Davis, Lindsey Plotkin, Ikey Colaire for the Burnt Orange Sports Network's Women's Basketball Podcast. Hoping she doesn't know it yet, but we're going to try to get a very special person at the Daily Texan on here who also covers women's basketball for the next. She is going to be joining me on a drive, I'm pretty sure, to College Station
Are
to
y'all
take
going
on.
too?
Yeah, are you going to College
Yeah,
Station?
I'm
Let's
going.
carpool.
Okay, perfect.
He
I'm
says
down.
already in my car.
Okay,
So.
great. I also can drive. I have a giant car. I
Oh,
don't care.
yeah, perfect. We're going to Texas A&M, see that game. It'll be interesting. I'm not a big fan of the arena, and the media side is not great, but you know, I'd expect nothing less from the Aggies. So we'll have that all covered for you. We'll preview Vanderbilt and then of course South Carolina. That's going to be an insane game. Ikey, Lindsey, Thank you for joining on the podcast. Thank you for hosting. This is Zach Davis from the Burnt Orange Sports Network, and we will see you next Thursday.